Thank you for having us. As you mentioned, my name is Alex. This is my colleague Brock, and we're here to talk about weeding out pirates using the magic of adaptive streaming. Just so I have a read of the room and I don't bore you to death, raise your hand if you don't know what adaptive streaming is. Okay. All right. So I want to do a quick review of what that means. But first off, let me do a quick introduction. As I said, my name is Alex. I am the Director of Engineering at Udemy. One of my responsibilities is the entire video pipeline. Brock here is a staff engineer and tech lead on our stream team, which is the one that owns the video pipeline. And for those who are unfamiliar with Udemy, we are an education marketplace. So think of it as if you have something to teach, you can create a course, and then anyone in the world can take that course. Essentially, we are the Uber for educational content, if you will. But in the end, a marketplace. All right, so before I dive into what we're doing, quick explanation on adaptive streaming. So if you think of watching a video, again, this is as if I'm explaining it to a 10-year-old, just to get everyone on board. You're watching a video, it's one file, continuous, you stream it. Adaptive streaming is you, instead of streaming one file, you fetch chunks of them. And each chunk could be of a certain bitrate and resolution depending on your internet connection strength. So if your internet goes down, you're in a bus, and you're unable to stream HD content, we drop your resolution and bitrate, smaller file size, you can continue streaming without buffering. Does that make sense? Everybody, to some degree? All right, cool. So, the problem we had is we have a really nifty feature on our site that allows people to preview the contents of an entire course for 5 minutes. So we have a little button on our course landing page that allows you to start free preview. And for those 5 minutes, you are the equivalent of a paid customer. So for 5 minutes, you can sample the content. If you like it, you buy it. It is a highly valuable feature. It converts really well. So it was important for us to keep it. The problem we ran into is once you give people access to the entire content, they just fetch the entire thing, and within those 5 minutes, they download 10 hours of video, and they have the entire course at their disposal. So essentially pirating our content. Right? So that's the main issue we're trying to solve. How do we keep the free preview? How do we allow people who are genuinely looking to sample our content to continue doing that, but prevent pirates from pirating the content? That make sense? All right. So, and the other thing, we decided not to go the DRM route because we have some dignity. Sorry. In parallel, we were actually migrating our video delivery platform over to HLS. And as I mentioned, instead of requesting an entire video file, you keep requesting chunks as you go. And that gave us an interesting idea. We were actually able to figure out what people's consumption patterns were based on the requests they were making. So if someone is jumping around a video or navigating between what we call lectures, which are different sections of a course, and navigating within the video, based on the requests, we can figure out what a person's consumption patterns are. However, as you know, serving content is typically done via CDN, and you have very little control over it. It just caches it and serves it. And so how do you layer logic on top of it? So we had to come up with a solution that allows us to layer logic on top of CDN to be able to detect those consumption patterns. And the end result is that based on consumption patterns, we are able to catch pirates. And I will let my colleague Brock explain the technical details of it.
Hi, everybody. While working on this problem, we realized that we can be able to actually track users' behavior by generating manifest files on the fly. So what we have done is that we embedded small tokens inside to the URLs, to the small chunks, and this enabled us to track our users' behavior on our end. So still there's a problem in here, which is that when a client makes a request to the small chunk, it actually goes and authenticated inside the CDN. So we do not have any control over the authentication at all. So what we have done is that we talked with our CDN provider to make us a proxy authentication call to get the authentication, and we created a small authentication server that gives permission to serve content through the CDN. And as a result, CDN fetches our content from S3 and then serves back to the client. And we included inside those small chunk URLs this mine, which is a token. It's an encrypted token that includes users' information in it, user ID, session, parameters, blah, blah. So as a result, our manifest files look like this. As you can see, this is a M338 file for a HLS 720 3000 bitrate video with the mine there. So we started collecting a lot of data. On our authentication server, and we started analyzing this data, and we started seeing that we have 3 different kind of users based on their consumption patterns, which are normal users, tab addicts, and pirates. So, and this is a graph that is a result of our analysis. The vertical axis shows the number of videos that is watched per user in an hour, and the horizontal axis shows the number of the chunks requested, unique chunks requested in an hour. So this is still a little bit blurry because we couldn't be able to group the people in here in this graph, and the tab addicts are like very close to the normal users, and it's still a little bit blurry. So we decided to narrow down our analysis time to 1 minute instead of 1 hour, and we get a better picture in here. And normal users and the tab addicts become in the same group, and the pirates at the right hand side, which are artificially generated by our own downloader, end up in a very, very different location. So those are our potential pirates, and we still need some little bit more data on our website, like other features, to be able to make a third dimension and then separate completely from them. But just this is even enough to determine the potential pirates. So thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, please.